Today we're unboxing and reviewing a projector, because inches matter. And nothing's more badass than poning noobs in Call of Duty on a 100-inch projector. There's just something about not having a physical TV taking up surface area in your house, but still having a large viewing experience. Plus, you can lay back in bed and project it onto the ceiling. That's a fun little trick. Not if you have a ceiling fan, which most of us do. Best of all, this bad boy includes a 100-inch projector screen, so if you're somebody like myself that doesn't have a blank wall big enough to project an image, it's all good. Just look at this happy family right there. That could be you, the little boy right there. Or you could be this chick over here getting plastered off a Long Island iced tea, while you enjoy a nice flick with your family. Now, this product was sent for a review. However, I haven't been told to say anything about it, and I'm going to be blatantly honest. If there is any cons or areas of improvement, you're going to hear about it. Kevin, I've got all this artwork that my wife made me buy. We don't have a single wall that we can project onto. Neither do I. But it does come with a screen, which is pretty sweet because a lot of projectors do not. You either have to source one separately, and well, that's extra money, or you have to go throw out that rare, priceless Vincent Van Goober picture that your wife made you pick up at the flea market. So you have this nice little carrying pouch right here, which could double as many things. This is about the same size as a sewing machine carrying bag. So when your projector's out of this case, you can store some ribbons in here or something. That's nice. Plastic wrap, why not? Well, ASMR for you guys. Listen up close. Nice little lens cap on there. 2 USB ports, 2 full-size HDMI ports, a 3.5mm headphone jack, an IR scanner, and a PC RGB plug. And then, of course, your AC adapter, and this little knob here, which opens up a portal to Narnia. And this lever right here will kick your lens in and out to make sure you're in focus for how far and also how large of a picture you're trying to project. And in this bag here, you have a 100-inch canvas screen, so that's really cool. You get to see what I'm wearing to bed tonight, but what's not putting me to sleep is the performance of this projector. So I remember personally, my last experience with a projector was about 15 years ago. I bought a sharper image projector for $150 out of the catalog, which at the time, 15 years ago, 150 bucks, especially because at the time I was under the bridge simping for shekels. That was a lot of money to me, and the performance was, and it was a huge letdown. The image was so blurry. I think it was actually like literally rated at 480i or 720p. It was just so blurry you couldn't really read text or anything. Times have changed, technology has advanced, and granted, projectors don't get as much attention in comparison to the modern TV technologies such as QLED and OLED, but there's something to be said about a huge, large image, especially if you're building something like a theater room in your house, which hopefully in my next house, when I'm doing direct and air traffic here, hopefully in my next house I have the square footage, the real estate in the house to make that happen. But in the meantime, I have found a couple of perspective spots to make this projector work. There she is. I want you to take a gander at the sheer size, ladies. Alexa, living room light off. Okay. There it is. So this is a 75-inch LG TV. You've seen it showcased on the channel. I did a settings guide and whatnot. It is literally being dwarfed or engulfed by this screen right here, which is rated for a maximum of 100 inches. However, you can actually get it larger than 100 inches. However, that's what the manufacturer recommends to still have the best picture quality. Because right now, obviously, we don't have a proper surface to project this image. I think what stands out to me immediately, though, is that even though I have this projector about 17 feet away from the wall here, the text is still completely legible and readable, and that's even without a screen. So pretty impressive. This is only rated for 1080p, which doesn't sound like a lot in a world of 1440 monitors and 4K TVs. However, it actually looks quite crisp in my opinion. So I do like the fact that it does come with a projection screen, considering most people, myself included, really don't have a dedicated wall in their house that doesn't have any pictures hung up or any decorations where they can just cast it onto a wall. And I do like being able to lay back in bed and cast it on the ceiling. However, a lot of people, again, myself included, have like a ceiling fan above their bed, so you can't do that. But they include this nice projection screen, which is really high quality material. And it's also kind of nice because if you ever fall under hard times, you can use this as a blanket if you have to sleep in your car or something, so that's cool. Some basic hooks here or rungs, hang it up like the good Lord intended. So the included projector screen, not very big, so I would recommend, we are going to use this, but I would recommend If you want to get the full regalia, the full beans out of this projector, that you do invest in some kind of a pull-down projector screen, either manual or maybe with a remote control, depending on what your budget is looking like for your home theater. Alrighty, Stallions, over here at the PC, I'm going to be overlaying a little bit of B-roll right now of me playing Astro's Playworld on the PS5, as well as watching some anime on Netflix, and I am very, very impressed with the quality of this projector. Not only for the price, that's kind of a loaded compliment when you say like, oh, for the price, like, oh, that's a great car, super quick for the price, or oh yeah, it's a good gun, she fires smooth for the price, or that hooker was wonderful for the price. It's kind of a loaded compliment, you know? I will say, back in the day, like I mentioned during that little story time around the fireplace in the living room, 5, 8, 10 years ago, you could not get a projector sub $1,000 that would perform anywhere near this projector. Some of what really stood out to me is the overall brightness. So projectors are rated in what's called ANSI lumens, and this is rated at 600. However, there is a tech YouTuber, much better YouTuber with a much bigger schmeckle than mine. He basically took 8 or 9 budget projectors from Amazon and tested them side by side, and he has the tools to measure things like lumens and color grading. Surprise, surprise, on his video, the projector that I'm reviewing here today actually came out the best bang for the buck, and I totally concur with that because the brightness, even when I had my light on in my room, was actually really impressive. And then obviously when you're in a dimly lit or completely dark room, which you should be if you're projecting, I had the notion in the back of my head that since it is rated at 1080p 60, gaming would be a real kick in the beads, right? You know, you're used to playing either upscaled 4K or 1440 on a PC monitor. So you're thinking, oh, 1080p, especially stretched out on such a big image, the pixel density is going to be all wonky and the image is going to look blurry. It really did not. It genuinely did not. I was playing Astro's Playroom, which by the way is one of my favorite platformer games for the PlayStation. You could see all the intricate details in the game world, such as the foliage and, you know, the texturing on stone walls and stuff. It looked good. I didn't notice any tearing, stuttering, motion blur, or anything like that. It actually felt very fluid even at 60 hertz. I also did some rudimentary testing, which I'll probably insert a little clip right here of me basically spamming the jump button and trying to see if there was any kind of noticeable lag or delay between when I pressed a button and when the action happened on screen, and there was not. Not very much input lag or delay. That's awesome. Now, this also has a dynamic contrast ratio of 15,000 to 1, which basically means that, well, even brightness across the screen. And I did notice that where there were some dark sections on the screen and then also some light areas as well. Also, I didn't notice any uneven lighting where there was like hot spots or dark areas. You will see in the video that on the left side of where I had the projector at, you can see my wall behind it because that projector screen is a little bit translucent or opaque. And I do have kind of light mocha brown walls, and you can definitely see that through the projector screen. I do not have an ideal setup here where I can have a permanently affixed non-translucent projector screen where I can take full advantage of this projector, which is very disappointing because I do think that this thing performs incredibly well. So this also does have Wi-Fi, and you can link up a mobile device such as a phone, tablet, or basically anything that uses Wi-Fi to stream content directly to the projector, which I think is really cool. You do also have those 2 HDMI ports. Obviously, that's how I was using the PlayStation 5. And you do have USB ports as well. So if you want to plug in something like an external hard drive that has some MP4 movie files on there, you can do that as well. Now, as for sound, you have a couple of options. You do have the internal speaker, which obviously isn't great for 2 reasons. One, it's an internal speaker. I always advise Stallions and Stallionettes to not use built-in TV or monitor speakers because, well, that device is meant to project an image, and it producing sound is kind of an afterthought by the manufacturer. So I do recommend you get something like a sound bar or a surround sound setup, or even pop on a good set of cans, headphones. But the internal speaker actually got relatively loud and didn't get distorted. However, there's no real bass to it. It is a little bit hollow, and it's a lot of mids and highs with no low-end bass. In addition to Wi-Fi, this also does have Bluetooth 5.1, which means that you can connect a Bluetooth speaker as well. So that's pretty cool. And then I think this would make a very good travel projector because it does have that carrying pouch with the screen that folds up and goes in there, and it does have a pretty decent internal speaker. Good enough for you to watch a movie or play a game in a pinch, no problem. In fact, I'm going to be playing a little clip here and you'll be able to hear the game sound. Now you are going to notice a little bit of whine of white noise, and that is from the fan, and that is definitely a con that I will touch on in just a minute.
Kota, take care of the one on the ground.
That fan noise though. So like I mentioned, the fan noise is loud. It's basically like being on the flight deck of a naval aircraft carrier. Okay, it's not that intense, but it's quite loud. So what I would strongly recommend, if you can do this, ceiling mount this projector, which it does have the threading on the bottom. Mount this to your ceiling with the proper mount, which will be linked in the description below. Now you mount it basically upside down, and then in the main menu, it does have a little 180 flipperoo. How do you do that swaps the image around? So obviously everything is right side up. I would recommend doing that. And then the knob on the back, which I said opened a portal to Narnia. I tried, it actually did not open a portal to Narnia, but what it does do is tilt the image vertically. So if you are very low or very high with the actual mounting of the projector, you can still even out the image, which is really cool. Moreover than ceiling mounting, the most ideal setup for this, as long as you do have the space and also the theater setup to accommodate this, would be to put it in some kind of an enclosed box where it can still breathe and get airflow and not overheat, but it is somewhat soundproofed in maybe a separate room, just like in a movie theater where you have like a separate room with a window where it can project the image out, but the noise is encased in that room. And that is my only real notable con or negative or shortcoming with this projector that I do hope they change with their next version or iteration of this projector, is simply changing out that fan for a quieter option, because it is incredibly noisy. And if somebody's not using a headset or a good sound bar and they're just using the internal speaker, that fan is really competing. But overall, I am very satisfied with this projector, especially like I mentioned for the price. It does retail for $300, however it's on sale for $270. Then it has a $40 coupon, so that brings it down to $230 plus tax, of course. And honestly, the performance in that price bracket is very, very impressive. The only things, like I said, is I would recommend either ceiling mounting it or putting it in a separate room, because the fan is very, very noisy. Other than that, it gets bright. The colors looked rich and vibrant. It had pretty darks. Obviously, you're not going to get inky blacks like you are with a TV, especially an OLED or a QLED, but it did look very good. Going from gaming at something like 4K 60 on a TV or 1440 160 hertz on my PC monitor to this at 1080 60, the gaming experience was actually a lot better than I had expected. And honestly, I could play like that for hours with zero complaints. So during my testing, as you can see from the B-roll here, it is a 100-inch screen, and I'm at about 85 inches of actual screen space here, and that's with the projector about 10.5 feet away from the wall that it's projecting onto. They recommend 100 inches, which is slightly less than what we were doing here in the gamer heaven, but in the front room, it was, almost double what they recommend at a maximum of 100 inches. I could tell even without a screen pulled down, the text was still legible and readable. Obviously, it's not going to look as crisp as having the projector closer to whatever you're projecting at, because obviously the pixel density will be tighter. If you want to check this thing out for yourself, it is linked down there in the description below. Again, I was very impressed with it. That's going to do it, Stallions. If you enjoyed this honest product review, liking it will help it to get seen by more gamers. This information will reach and assist them as well. Subscribe for more content like this. I cover news in the gaming community and industry, as well as tutorials helping you get set up streaming and YouTubing, and honest gaming peripheral reviews, keyboards, mice, headsets, controllers, mics, chairs, projectors apparently. And I'll see you tomorrow. Peace.